local government elections are behind us, and many are concerned about voter apathy and just the level of people's participation in the democratic process. Joining us now to talk a little bit about that is Jermaine Barrett. He is a political commentator and president of the Jamaica Association for Debating and Empowerment, JADE. Good morning, Jermaine.
Hi, good morning. Good morning to you, Simone.
Welcome
good morning,
to Smile
Delia.
Jamaica.
Hi, how are
Thank you.
you?
Thank you for having me.
Good to have you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this morning we were quoting a percentage of 29.6, almost 30% of people actually turned out to vote yesterday. Jermaine and Simone and I were trying to wrap our heads around it. You know, what does this mean? Give me your thoughts.
Well, it is low. It averages around where we usually, end in terms of local government elections. That's usually about 30% or thereabout. But it is unfortunate that Jamaicans are so disinterested in politics, and especially in local government elections. The Electoral Commission of Jamaica would have spent close to $2 billion on these elections with the anticipation that they would be catering to the full about 2 million persons who are on the voters list. With 30% coming out, huge waste of resources. It's quite a tragedy, I think.
Boy, tragedy born out of what? Let's talk about, because again, Harris and I were talking this morning about the fact that we just have to accept that there is apathy. But we need to drill down in order to change what's going on. We need to drill down as to what is causing the apathy so we can address it to get the levels up in future elections. Not the levels of apathy, but the numbers of people who vote.
Increase
what do you think
the interest.
is going on? I mean, the Prime Minister says it's an election about roads and water. Some people say about corruption. So what do you think is at the source, at the heart of this disinterest and ambivalence and just indifference on the part of the Jamaican people?
So I think the Prime Minister was onto something when he diagnosed the problem as being, people just not being satisfied with the level of service that they've been afforded by, the parish council system with respect to the delivery of roads and water and those kinds of, municipal services. I recall the two debates. You'd have hopefully both watched them, and we'd have both formed views on it. One of the views that really became etched in my mind, having watched them, is this fact that we saw the two political parties almost talking over the Jamaican people and not connecting with the Jamaican people in the areas that it matters most. So on the JLP side, for example, you hear them saying, well, we have fixed markets, we've fixed roads, we have provided water, we've done all of these things. And the reality on the ground, as the Prime Minister has diagnosed, is that, yes, we have done the macroeconomic things, and we've done those right, to his credit, to his administration's credit. But what we haven't done enough of is attend to the local government issues. We have not fixed the roads, we have not cleaned the drains, we have not provided the water supply to a great enough extent to cause people to be satisfied with governance. And so amidst the heightened political campaign and the revelry and the fanfare and the intensity of the communication, it's just talking over people's heads, because none of it, by and large, is resonating with the average voter. Who it's resonating with and who came out to vote are the political bases, the people who are either green or orange.
I'm trying to find the best way to say this, Jermaine, because I thought about it, and I want to say, what structures do we have in place for the micro-governance? Do we have structures that say, listen, X amount of roads have to be fixed during your tenure? Do we leave too much of the decision-making to the people who sit in the councils when it comes to local governance? Because you hear people say, oh, election is coming up, so I know my road I got fixed now. Or election is coming up, so I know so I got get water.
Or no, I'm going to see who my representative is.
Correct. So I'm saying in terms of how the issues are addressed, is there a way that we can structure it that I wouldn't say that holds them more accountable to what has to happen?
One of the major themes coming out of the campaign has been the need for the officials, the councillors, the mayors to relate more, interact more, and gauge the opinions, the sentiments of their constituents, the people in the divisions.
Yeah.
That has not been happening enough.
Yeah.
And I think, again, the Prime Minister in his great wisdom has caught on to something and has designed, for example, the Spark program to engage people, to get their opinion, to get their input in terms of the decisions as to how government money is spent. I think that's a start. Another thing that needs to be engaged with is how we communicate to people, not just, okay, which road you want to get fixed or which pipeline you want us to implement, but by and large, what are the other issues that are of concern to you? The youth demographic, for example, not turning out in enough numbers, still not engaged. What is happening there? A friend of mine, Ronaldino, he was here last time I was here, he said, he diagnosed it, he said, listen, young people are tired of hearing that the roads are bad and the water is bad. It becomes like background noise to them. It no longer matters that a political party is saying, I will fix it and I will do it. What they're more connected to is the politics of, for example, North America, which says, hey, climate change, maybe you can have an impact in this. Those kinds of issues where they can see themselves sort of in the calculus for a solution, they're more connecting to that, at least a demographic of the youth base. But young people can't fix roads and they can't implement pipes, for water supply. And so they see themselves as being sort of impotent in those respects. I think our political leaders need to recognize that a lot of the conversation as well need to be about the things where people are placed in the middle of the solution.
Interesting, people-centered. Well, that's what politics is supposed to be about,
that
no?
is exactly it.
So we've missed the mark completely.
We have.
Have our politicians not learned how to read the room? They're not reading the room.
They are not. But I see a change in the direction of our politics. Gone are the days when, a political party has a guaranteed base and can depend on that base to come out and vote for them. Now it's becoming far more competitive. I think in the context of the JLP, their 2020 electoral landslide has given them a sense of confidence, but they're realizing now that they're overconfident and they have a checklist of things that they probably even didn't realize, but the people expect them to deliver on. And so they now have to connect with the Jamaican people to find out, what is your checklist? What do you want? And how can I deliver? That conversation needs to start now. I hope that this message has come on home to the Jamaica Labour Party.
Yeah, one of the things you mentioned is the way young people are, influenced by Western governance. But one of the things, Jermaine, about Western governance is when you look, you'll see NGOs, you will see advocacy groups, that the people are actively involved in what happens. Why do we not see more of that in Jamaica? If you have a citizens association in some of the communities, you're lucky. Why aren't we seeing more of that, since it is that we're being so influenced by Western styles?
I think, I'm not sure if in Jamaica we don't have as many NGOs, as many civic-minded organizations as happens in a typical Western-style democracy. I think that might be the case. I think a part of our problems at the NGO level is that a lot of how we operate is also dysfunctional. Okay. So everybody's trying to outcompete each other, and in the process, we're sort of stifling each other. You understand? So there's not enough collaboration and cooperation on the big things. Well. For a small island like ours, we really should be identifying that you have an NGO on this and I have an NGO on this, and there's some synergies. Maybe if we combine efforts and resources, we can make better impact.
So we stay in a whole heap of different aspects. That's why we can't move forward.
The crab in a barrel mentality.
Correct. Right. So Jermaine, what would have been your key takeaway from yesterday? And with the runway as it is now between yesterday and generals, right? What do you think can be done to make up for lost ground for both parties? What do they need to do to be able to really take off in the way they need to take off?
Right. I think that we're going to see, again, a far greater concerted effort to reach people and to connect with people in the areas matter most to them. For too long, we've had a kind of governance where you have the people at the top who are making the decisions, not really communicating effectively to the people. And I understand the challenge that politicians have in the modern era. Communication is not like you make a big speech on television or radio and everybody gets it and everybody understands. Everybody is just disconnected and distracted with their own priorities. So that's a part of the challenge as well. But I anticipate that going forward, there is going to be an even greater mobilization of all the resources of communication to reach the people and to get from them as well a sort of understanding as to what their issues are. That is going to be far more deliberate. I'd want to make a comment as well about the People's National Party, because I feel like I've been commenting a lot on the government. I think the People's National Party ought to take some lessons from this as well. The low voter turnout is a major concern for them. The polls have indicated that their guaranteed base is in the 60s and above, right? That's not a sustainable basis to establish a political party on, or where your votes are. So there is a need for more engagement of the middle-aged, the youth base, right, who are looking overseas and looking all over the place and just totally disregarding the political messages. And I think there's also a need for the People's National Party to recognize that in their communication, they have to address the credibility challenges that they have. Lots of Jamaicans look at them and say, well, you had your time. You didn't do much,
But let me pick up on what you're saying as we come to the end of the interview. Would yesterday not be categorized as a win for them by all indications?
So it is a win. In fact, it is a net win, meaning they started with 98 divisions. They now are at 100 and something, so they've gained, yes? But I don't think they should celebrate and say, well, mission accomplished.
Perception-wise, you don't think they gained there too?
What's that?
Perception, in terms of perception?
Yeah, so I think the trajectory is a progressive one for them.
But don't sit on your laurels.
Don't sit on your laurels.
Gotcha.
Work harder, win more.
Gotcha.
Because the administration, I think they're getting the message and they're going to work. Boy, I tell you, we're going to be in a year-long or more election period. Yes.
Thanks, Jeremy. We've got to go. Excellent points from you.
Appreciate that, sir. Thank you very much.
Political commentator and president of the Jamaica Association for Debating and Empowerment, JADE, Jermaine Barrett.
Okay, we will see. Coming up next, we are discussing the See the Truth campaign. We'll be right back.